The greedy wolf. Once upon a time, in a dense forest filled with tall trees and winding streams, there lived a wolf named Rollo. Rollo was a strong and fierce wolf, but he had one great flaw. He was incredibly greedy. He always wanted more than he needed, whether it was food, territory, or power. His insatiable hunger often got him into trouble, and the other animals in the forest learned to stay away from him. One chilly autumn day, Rollo was prowling through the forest, his stomach growling with hunger. He hadn't caught anything to eat all morning, and his patience was wearing thin. Suddenly he spotted a flock of sheep grazing in a nearby meadow. His eyes gleamed with excitement, and he licked his lips hungrily. "Sheep," Rollo whispered to himself. "A whole flock of them. If I can catch one, I'll have a feast fit for a king." He crouched low and began to sneak closer, his eyes fixed on a plump sheep that had wandered away from the flock. But as he prepared to pounce, he heard a rustling in the bushes nearby. Out stepped another wolf, lean and hungry looking like himself. It was a fellow wolf named Bruno. Bruno spotted Rollo and growled, "What do you think you're doing here, Rollo? This is my hunting ground." Rollo, not wanting to share his meal, replied, "Your hunting ground? The forest belongs to everyone. And I saw the sheep first, so back off." The two wolves snarled at each other, baring their teeth. They were ready to fight, but then Rollo had an idea. "Why should we fight?" he said, forcing a smile. "How about we work together to catch the sheep? We can share the meal." Bruno, being smaller and less powerful than Rollo, agreed reluctantly. "All right," he said, "but we share it equally." The two wolves stalked closer to the flock, planning to ambush the sheep. As they got closer, Rollo whispered to Bruno, "I'll go around and scare the sheep toward you. You wait here and catch one. We'll feast together." Bruno nodded and crouched down, ready to pounce. Rollo crept around the edge of the meadow and suddenly lunged out, barking and growling. The sheep panicked and scattered in all directions, running toward Bruno. Bruno sprang forward and managed to grab hold of a young lamb. He dragged it away, eager to eat. But Rollo had other plans. As soon as he saw Bruno had caught the lamb, his greed took over. "Why should I share with him?" he thought. "I did most of the work. I deserve it all." Rollo waited until Bruno was distracted with the lamb, then charged at him with a fierce snarl. Bruno, caught off guard, yelped and let go of the lamb. "What are you doing, Rollo? We had a deal," Bruno cried. But Rollo didn't care. "This is my catch now," he growled, snapping his teeth at Bruno. The greedy wolf. "Get lost before I decide to have you for dinner instead." Bruno, realizing he couldn't win against the stronger wolf, backed away angrily. "You'll regret this, Rollo," he warned before slinking away into the forest. Rollo, now alone, was pleased with himself. "All mine," he chuckled, dragging the lamb to a shady spot under a tree. "No need to share with anyone." As he was about to take his first bite, he heard a rustling sound behind him. Turning around, he saw a large bear emerging from the bushes. The bear, named Grizz, was the biggest and most feared animal in the forest. Well, well, well," Grizz rumbled in his deep voice. "What do we have here?" "A tasty-looking lamb, and just in time for lunch." Rollo's heart sank. He knew he couldn't fight Grizz. "This is my catch, Grizz," he said nervously. "I worked hard for it." Grizz laughed. "Your catch? In my part of the forest? You must be joking. Now be a good wolf and leave, or I'll have you for dessert." Rollo, terrified, realized he had no choice. He couldn't fight the bear, so he slinked away. Cursing under his breath, Grizz settled down and devoured the lamb in a matter of minutes. Angry and frustrated, Rollo continued wandering through the forest, his hunger growing worse. As the day wore on, he spotted a farmer's field in the distance. "Aha," he thought. "The farmer's chickens. They'll be easy to catch, and there's no one around to steal my meal this time." Rollo sneaked into the field and managed to snatch a fat chicken. He was about to run off when he heard barking. A pack of farm dogs, alerted by the commotion, came rushing toward him, barking fiercely. "Oh no!" Rollo yelped. He tried to run, but the dogs were fast and surrounded him. Desperate to save himself, Rollo dropped the chicken and fled back into the forest. Barely escaping with his life, panting and exhausted, Rollo collapsed under a tree, his stomach still growling. He realized that his greed had cost him dearly. If he had shared with Bruno, he could have had a decent meal. If he hadn't tried to take the farmer's chicken, he wouldn't have had to run for his life. At that moment he saw a small group of rabbits nibbling on grass nearby. He was too tired to chase them, but an idea struck him. He remembered how he had tricked Bruno earlier and felt ashamed. Maybe it's time to try something different, he thought. The greedy wolf, instead of sneaking up on the rabbits, he called out, "Hello, friends. I see you have found some tasty grass. I haven't eaten all day, and was wondering if you'd be willing to share a bit with me." The rabbits looked at him warily. They had heard of Rollo's greedy ways. "Why should we share with you, Rollo?" asked the eldest rabbit. "You're known for taking more than your share." Rollo lowered his head in shame. "You're right," he admitted. "I've been greedy, and it's brought me nothing but trouble. I promise to be fair and share with others from now on. If you could just share a little grass with me today, I would be grateful." The rabbits, seeing the sincerity in his eyes, decided to give him a chance. "All right, Rollo," the eldest rabbit said. "We'll share some grass with you. But remember, a forest thrives on kindness, not greed." Rollo gratefully accepted the grass and ate just enough to satisfy his hunger. He thanked the rabbits and, true to his word, began to change his ways. He no longer tried to take more than he needed, and he offered to share whatever he caught with others. With time, the other animals in the forest saw the change in Rollo and began to trust him again. He became known as a fair and generous wolf, no longer ruled by his greed. And though he never became the most powerful or wealthy animal in the forest, he found something far more valuable: friendship, trust, and a peaceful heart. From that day forward, Rollo the wolf learned that sharing and kindness would always bring more happiness than greed ever could.